Michael, will you make me a panelist, please? Michael, are we live on Zoom?
We are live on Zoom.
Very good, thank you. We're back in session. Councilor Maraworth, you have a motion to make?
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 10-15-1J, I move that the governing body reconvene an open session and state for the record that the matters discussed in the closed session were limited to those specified in the motion for closure. Second.
There's a motion and second. Is there discussion? Madam Clerk, could you call the roll on the motion, please?
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Romero Worth.
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion is approved.
thank you. I'd entertain a motion to change the agenda to go to petitions from the floor.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Very good. So if you are here in the council chambers, we'll ask you now if you have a petition from the floor you would like to bring to the attention of the governing body, please do come to the podium. And it could be about any item that's not a public hearing. And the city clerk will keep the time and try to be respectful of everybody getting an equal amount of time, 2 minutes, to address the governing body on any matter that you wish to bring to our attention. Please step up and make sure the microphone is on and that it is well positioned.
Better?
Better.
Yes, sir. Councilors, Mayor, thank you for having us. My name is John Paul Granillo, and I am representing the Citizens Council for the Governor's Office. And we did a cleanup. This one was from where the mobile home park, what was it? Riverside Mobile Home, 2 streets up, right? We did it on Saturday, almost like the one that we had that most of you attended on Cerrillos Road. And one of the things was in that 2 blocks, we had around 37 bags of trash. We're estimating it at like 730 pounds of trash just within those 2 blocks. Now, it looked clean up to an extent. They only go so far in, but everything else, there was tires, there was larger pieces of metals and signs that we couldn't get out. We did get as much out as we could, but it's also the lack of services. There's another part to those same lack of services, and by no means is this any of your fault. But what we're bringing up is the idea of services. This week, I did do a 911 call for a domestic violence, and this was me personally, not from the Citizens Council. Domestic violence. Now, there's a football field in between from where my house is to where the domestic violence, literally a football field. It's called Ortiz Middle School, right? And it took the cops maybe, an hour and 20 minutes to respond when they're right down the street. And I'm not saying that they should be in that area more. I had to go break it up myself. So that gives to say that that's not only happening in our district, it's the lack of services in general that we're talking about. That should be looked at, those small businesses that are getting affected by everything that's going on. So that's what we wanted to bring to your attention today. And we thank you for your services.
Thank you very much for being here.
What's up? Hi, Kevin Rapp. I think I've met everybody here multiple times. Part of the Trash Pandas leadership group. Trash Pandas volunteer group of cleanup folks, and was at the same cleanup JP was, but to just kind of follow up on all the conversations we've had over the years about cleanup over the last couple of years as we've been doing the Trash Pandas work. One of the things I would like to challenge you guys is to continue to be leaders of the community. As part of that, I think we need more visible support from you guys for the cleanups around the city. Folks, we're seeing more and more posts on Nextdoor, more and more posts on Facebook of people doing neighborhood cleanups. But one of the things I would like to see, and I know we've talked to multiple of you, and Michael, I know you and I had a couple conversations about this, about kind of doing some sort of like district challenge, something to where you guys are leading, setting that example by leading and saying, hey, we're going to go out this weekend and everybody's that's available and that can, and we know everybody can, everybody's got other stuff going on. They're physically can't do it, but get out there and help clean up the streets. Because one of the things that I've said multiple times and really truly believe, and I repeat it to everybody, is it has to be a little bit of everybody. So we've got volunteers out there today all over the place cleaning up. We've got Keep Santa Fe Beautiful out there. We've got Santa Fe Watershed doing cleanups. The governor's crew is now starting to do cleanups once a month. What's missing right now is visibility of the city of Santa Fe, because a lot of people in the city don't see Keep Santa Fe Beautiful and Santa Fe Watershed as part of the city leadership, where you guys are part of the city leadership. So I challenge you all to schedule some cleanups, whether it's via Facebook, via your distribution list that you have to send them out to your districts, and maybe do a challenge amongst yourselves, but then also get out there in your neighborhoods and challenge your districts to say, hey, everybody take up your neighborhood, your HOA, get together, have somebody from an HOA, from each HOA, say, we're going to lead for our HOA, we're going to clean up our neighborhood, and we're going to count how many bags we cleaned up, have a little bit of a challenge. We don't necessarily give gifts or anything, but definitely think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yep. Thank you all.
Hello.
You can move that
Okay.
entire, there you go.
Is that better?
Yes, now you're better.
Just a point of order, how are we doing the timer since we don't have the screen, and are you keeping track of that? Just,
Mayor, Councilor Romero Worth, I am doing a timer live and it is beeping, but it's low, but I will be counting time.
Okay. Please tell us, give us your name and you have the floor.
Santa Fe councilors, mayor, those in attendance. My name is Chanel Yeager. I'm a born and raised New Mexican here from Santa Fe. I'm actually a junior at Amherst College in Massachusetts. And I come to you as a first-time attendee of one of these meetings, even though I consider myself to be somewhat of a, person that's active in the community, and I hope to continue to be at these meetings with you all. So I also come to you today gratefully as an intern at the governor's office, as well as someone that has sat in at the Santa Fe council meeting and the citizens council meeting, excuse me. During my time working for the governor, I've been working on a range of topics, including the beautification of our state. I grew up in this beautiful city, constantly seeing the quote, "Keep Santa Fe Beautiful" advertisements, and I always wondered what they were even talking about. I mean, Santa Fe is already beautiful. In high school, I participated in my first litter cleanup. I began to understand what they meant by that slogan. In going to pick up litter, we were also told not to pick up needles that were used for drugs, or even alcohol bottles that might cut our hands through our gloves. Now, as a member of the Breaking Bad Habits Initiative at the governor's office, and once again participating in cleanup events in our beautiful city, I was still warned to not pick up needles, but I did pick up many alcohol bottles during the cleanup. As a city, we must do better, and it is doing better, as I recently learned that groups like the Trash Pandas have been doing cleanup events every weekend. Even though this is great work, we still need engagement from the youth and leadership to be successful in the environmental initiatives that create change in our communities. I'm excited to be more engaged in making our community beautiful and safe. I challenge those in attendance, the Santa Fe councilors, the mayor, to do the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, consejero. Mi nombre es Gina Aus y pertenezco al Distrito 3.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is
Gina Aus. Gina Aus.
Tina Aus, and I'm in District 3.
Lo que yo quiero decir hoy día es cómo la ciudad está apoyando al Distrito 3, en general de todo Santa Fe, con el crimen que está pasando en nuestras calles.
What I would like to talk about today is how the city is supporting District 3 in general, and also specifically about the crime that is happening on the streets.
Tenemos negocios que han sido afectados en un mes más de 3 veces. Le han quebrado las ventanas, le han hecho vandalismo y no ha pasado nada. Las personas siguen yendo, pasando y no han visto ningún cambio.
We have some businesses that have been affected 3 times. They come and they've had their windows broken, they've been vandalized, and nothing seems to change. People keep coming and no changes are made.
Lo hemos reportado en la página oficial de la ciudad y no, nos han dicho que hablemos con nuestros concejales. Hemos reportado que la página no está lo suficiente en español y nos dicen que la página está en crecimiento, se podría decir.
We have reported on the official city website what's been going on, and we haven't received any response. We've also reported that there is an insufficient translation into Spanish on the website, and we have not seen any changes.
We need to clarify we need to we report the crime in the website. We tell, hey, that happened. This is, we have issues in the south side, but they don't respond. They don't give you attention. They don't care. They just give you, talk to the city council, do this, but nothing happens. So I don't know what happened with the website from the city, but we report crime, we report holds, we report all kinds of issues, and nothing happens. So I want to know how we need you, councilors, mayor, you help our community, our district to improve for the small business. This is small business, pay taxes, do everything they do. They clean outside, you know, they do the work, but no one support the small business. No one support the street outside. We need help.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Maribel Carabeo y es la segunda vez que estoy aquí.
Good evening. My name is Maribel Caribeo, and this is the second time that I've been here.
Y para mí es un placer estar de nuevo aquí y exponer el problema que vivimos en el área del Surtside, en el Distrito 3.
It's a pleasure for me to be here again to explain the problems that we are experiencing in the South Side in District 3.
Soy dueña de un pequeño negocio y estamos aquí para que vean y sepan que también aportamos y colaboramos con esta ciudad de Santa Fe.
I'm a small business owner, and I'm here so that you can see and understand that we also contribute and work with the city of Santa Fe.
Nuestros pequeños negocios del sur side de Santa Fe aportan a la economía y al crecimiento de la ciudad.
Our small businesses on the south side contribute to the economy and help the growth of the city.
Independientemente si vivimos en diferentes áreas y nuestro estatus migratorio.
Regardless of whether we live in different areas or of our immigration status.
Por eso vengo y hablo por nuestra gente. Perdón. Y vengo a pedir que si se nos puede dar una solución de lo que está pasando en nuestra área.
That's why I'm here to speak on behalf of my people and ask that you find a solution to what's happening in our area.
Creo que todos saben y si no se los puedo recordar. Gente sin hogar por todos lados.
I think that everybody already knows, but if you don't, I will remind you, there are homeless people everywhere.
Que también necesitan un lugar digno independientemente de su adicción. Requieren mucha ayuda que en las calles no se proporciona.
These people also need a dignified place to live, regardless of whether or not they have an addiction, and they need help that they cannot receive on the streets.
Gente delincuente en cualquier lado. Remarco, ¿se les llama al departamento de policía cuando está pasando un robo? ¿O alguien anda rondeando nuestros negocios o nuestras casas? ¿Se le llama al departamento de policía cuando los delincuentes andan rondeando nuestros negocios o nuestras casas?
There are delinquents in our neighborhood, and the police are called when we see them on the streets or in our houses.
Pero ¿qué pasa con estos delincuentes? Entran a la cárcel como si fueran sus casas. Duran 48 horas y salen y continúan haciendo lo mismo.
But what happens to these people after the police come? They go to jail as if they were going home. They stay for 24 hours and then they're back on the street.
¿Y eso por qué pasa? No está de más recordarles porque nuestra ciudad o el estado no tiene leyes firmes para estos delincuentes. Sí.
Ma'am, if you could, we're almost out of time. If you could wrap.
Ok. Ok, lo tengo. Ok, nuestra área, el del Surside, está poblada, si no recuerdo, 7 escuelas elementary, 4 Gestar, 3 middle school y 2 high school. Todo lo anterior perjudica enormemente a nuestros hijos. Por eso necesitamos y pedimos que pongan sus ojos en el sur de Santa Fe, Surside de Santa Fe. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Our area is populated, if you don't remember, with 7 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, and 2 high schools. And what's going on hurts our children. That's why I'm here to request that you put your attention on the south side of Santa Fe.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question? No, of you procedurally. If we're doing translation, the people speaking actually are in the same amount of time as.
We're trying to be even-handed. That's the best I can do. Yes, sir. Go ahead. You have the floor.
I'm here to speak on behalf of Palestinian people, especially those who are currently being subjected to the Holocaust in Gaza, complete with nonstop bombardment and forced starvation, along with countless other war crimes committed by the state of Israel with the support of the U.S. government. Both are guilty of waging genocide on the people of Gaza. There are now reports claiming that it's not 40, 50, or 60,000 Palestinians who have been murdered, but actually closer to upwards of 500,000 when you count all of those missing, critically wounded, and even those with minor injuries because of the extreme lack of healthcare facilities, supplies, food, and aid. A simple scratch, something that us privileged Americans might not even notice, can easily get infected in the wastelands of Gaza and potentially lead to disease and or death. I actually once lived in the West Bank of Palestine myself as a child, as a privileged white Jewish American boy. I happen to have Palestinian American relatives too, some of whom are currently in the West Bank, including my nephew Hassan. I have a story about another Palestinian boy who shared the same name, a 3-year-old child in Gaza who recently died. He suffered from many severe underlying health conditions that included his liver, kidneys, and blood, along with malnutrition that only made his condition worse. He and his 2 siblings, suffering from the same condition, couldn't get a medical evacuation, so they died. Or should I say, they were forced to die. Hassan also lost his father 3 months ago in the genocide. His mother appealed to the international health organizations to help him medically evacuate due to the severity of his condition, but that desperate appeal went nowhere, and Hassan passed away just like all the other children of Gaza who are being killed due to the lack of medical assistance, closure of the borders, and forced starvation. This is just one example of the countless cases happening in Gaza daily for what is now 21 months of genocide. There are thousands of children waiting for medical evacuation and hundreds of cases of malnutrition. Meanwhile, New Mexico institutions are financially tied to the machinery of genocide in Gaza. UNM invests in mutual funds holding shares in at least 15 Israeli companies, including major weapons maker Elbit Systems, amounting to a stake in about 18 million worth of investments tied to the Israeli military. UNM also holds bonds in Honeywell, which manufactures missile components used in lethal strikes. One such part was linked to a missile that hit a UN-run school in Gaza, killing 40 Palestinians. Meanwhile, Boeing, whose Apache helicopters and JDAM bombs are used by Israel, is receiving nearly $6.8 million in taxpayer subsidies through job training programs here in New Mexico. Your silence isn't neutrality, it's complicity. And this is what you will be remembered for by future generations, for standing in solidarity with genocide. Is that really how you want your grandchildren to remember you? Last year, you passed some bullshit ceasefire resolution
Sir,
in Santa Fe.
I'm sorry.
What has been done since then to stop this Holocaust that is now going on almost 2 years?
I'm sorry to
Use our
interrupt.
power to divest our public institutions,
Sir,
stop funneling state
Can you
dollars to
wrap it up?
genocide, and demand an immediate and permanent ceasefire? Or will you continue to fund the mass murder of Palestinian civilians with our tax dollars?
sir,
That includes you, Alma Castro.
sir, can you wrap it up? Oh, we didn't get your name, sir.
Lazarus Chaim Kaufman. It's Hebrew for life.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Hola, mi nombre es Elsa Carrasco. Voy a ser muy breve nada más en lo que quiero comentar. Elsa Carrasco. ¿Está? Yo vengo aquí para, de alguna forma, no sé si se puede también ayudar en mi área. Yo vivo por las acequias en la calle Senda del Valle. Y estamos teniendo un problema muy grande ahí porque está un terreno solo y se juntan muchos homeless a drogarse, a vender drogas. Todo el día y toda la noche hay movimiento de gente, de carros donde van a consumir drogas, a estar comprando. Y ya he hablado a la ciudad para reportar eso. No sé si puedan hablar con el dueño o no sé quién sea el propietario de ese lugar, que pueda cerrarlo o no sé de qué otra forma se pueda hacer porque pues va la policía, pero pues nada más, hasta ahí.
I'm going to be brief tonight. I've also come to ask for help in my area. I live near the Acequias, near Calle Sendero del Valle. Senda del Valle. Del Valle, and we are experiencing a problem with an open area in our area where there's a large population of homeless people and people who gather to buy and sell drugs all day and all night. There are cars going by who are coming to buy and sell drugs. We have contacted the police, but they have not been able to do anything. And so I come here to ask if there's anything that can be done, perhaps contacting the owner of the land, because the police have been notified and nothing has been done.
Y pues de esta forma, por eso estoy aquí, para ver si de alguna forma se nos puede ayudar en esa área, porque ya no podemos dejar salir a nuestros hijos a jugar tranquilos, porque pues siempre están pasando cosas ahí. De hecho, mis hijos y yo pues ya estamos hasta yendo con psicólogos porque ya nos está afectando mucho y pues no es tan fácil decir, me voy a cambiar de casa o de lugar o de ciudad. Entonces, ojalá que de alguna forma pues nos puedan ayudar.
So I'm here today to ask if there's any way to help us with this issue. We can no longer let our children go out to play because they can't play peacefully because something is always happening in the area. In fact, my children are speaking with a psychologist because there's so much happening and it's not always easy to explain, but it's also not easy to move neighborhood or city to another neighborhood or city or area.
Bueno, gracias, es todo lo que quiero decir y ojalá que nos puedan ayudar.
That's all I have to say. Thank you, and I hope that you are able to help us.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Now, I assume there are people who are trying to zoom in and we'll have to figure out a way to jerry rig that.
Yes, we have one attendee, Stephanie Benenato. I'm going to allow her to speak and see if she can unmute.
Excuse me, I am
Let me
unmuted.
see
Can
if
you
I
hear me?
undo my,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I have three things to talk about. One is that at the end of May, at least 7 students passed the certification for lifeguard. They thought they all would be hired by the city, but only so far one was processed. That was about a week ago. This is a problem with why the city can't keep pools open because it takes so long to hire people. They have to find other jobs. They only have a certain amount of time to earn money over the summer. Secondly, the lawsuit that I've involved in, the tort claim against the city for injury at the gym, is going on forever. I've asked for mediation, and the response from the city was, we'll do mediation, but not now. I put in a motion for summary judgment, and even though the city has no documentation to prove the statements they're making, and the law requires documentation, they are stonewalling. They are saying that that's a factual matter. It's not factual. This is really a misuse of city funds. The lawyer that you hired now wants to hire experts to look at the safety issues. They can't because there's no documents that they can look at. It is, again, a reasonable person standard. And even though we're 21 months into it, he hasn't had enough time with his multiple staff to actually be able to do discovery. It is disgusting waste of city funds. It's time to settle the case and direct the lawyer to settle the case. The other thing I'd like to talk about is your meeting on affordable housing and the pallet homes. I tried to sign up. I was told it was full. I looked again. I tried again. It was full. I was told by somebody it was open. It was full. And then today, now there's a waiting list. It doesn't seem that you really want community participation. And it's really disappointing. You should have had multiple meetings about this, not just one meeting in which you've closed off the participation very quickly. And again, the false statements about it's open, it's not open, there's a waiting list, maybe you're on it, is again, very frustrating to people who are interested in the pallet home communities, who may actually even support them. But they cannot participate. And also today, not being able to get into this meeting was also frustrating. It was totally the wrong link, and I had to email Ms. Salazar in order to get the correct link. It seems that your staff should be checking the link before the meeting starts to make sure it's correct, and if
Thank you,
not,
Ms. Benatar.
updating the page. And I
Thank you.
appreciate Ms. Salazar's response to me so that I could listen and participate. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. Okay, any other people on Zoom with a hand up?
there are no other attendees in the Zoom room.
In that case, Madam Clerk, we go back to the original agenda, which would be, I think, matters from you.
Yes, item 14 matters from the city clerk. So I actually have a couple of things I want to talk to you about. I was speaking with Andrea Phillips the other day, and she was asking me if we had a quarterly update about what's going on with constituent services, communications, city clerk. And it gave me the idea that we should do this since it's the 6-month mark. So I will try to be 10 minutes, but I thought it was pretty interesting to collect all the data. So right now I'm looking at January 1st to today. So a couple of things. So far, we have filled, since my time here, we have filled 7 positions, which is quite a feat for my team to be constantly in hiring mode. We have 2 positions left, and one that we are hiring up. So the senior graphic designer position, our senior graphic designer became our communications and marketing manager. So we are hiring for his position. We got a lot of great applicants, and so we're in that process and closing that up. We are looking for a public defender, and that's still posted along with the city attorney position. We will be advertising after July 1st for our public defender, paralegal, and temporary interpreter positions. So we're looking forward to that. With regard to constituent services numbers, so as of today, there have been 3,996 work orders from the first of the year to today. The top 5 categories are 1, illegal dumping, 2, road maintenance, 3, other, and a lot of those other are a whole breadth of different things, including we had work orders when we were discussing Pete's Place that came in significantly. 4, trash and recycling, and 5, property maintenance code violations. The number of work orders completed from today, or from the 1st of January to today, is 2,994 work orders. Community events and community engagement. As of today's date, we've had 9 events, as well as attending things like HOA meetings, the ENN for the 4th of July, creating our own events. And we've done 6 meetings with the mayor, 2 special governing body meetings, and 12 governing body meetings. So we've been very busy. In terms of city clerk numbers, liquor licenses, we've done 15 new liquor licenses, 127 renewals, 110 special dispenser permits. And I think this is pretty interesting. So we tallied up the governing body agenda action items. So far this year, you have passed 38 resolutions, 13 ordinances, 159 items approved, such as grants, contracts, legal documents, and bars. That's not counting today. You've heard 3 land use cases, you've done 77 appointments, and you've had 12 staff presentations. I want to reiterate that to get something on the agenda sometimes takes months in advance from the inception and the budget of the date to go through legal, go through finance, procurement, to get onto our agenda where all the signatures happen, and then to have it finally signed. I am the last signatory on all those things. So that was pretty interesting to cull. With regard to elections, we have created a website that allows both online signatures for petitions and qualifying donations. As of today, we have both live that you can look at totals of the signature count as well as the amount of qualifying amounts. So we changed our website up to have both of those, since not everyone is going for public campaign financing. We are meeting with candidates, so every 2 weeks we're trying to create a meeting time so that people can come in and ask our office questions. So people have been signing up for that, and that has been great. We are also going to be doing a ranked choice voting education campaign. We're excited to be moving forward with that. The first step will be an education and training for staff, and that includes the city clerk staff, communications, constituent services, and we're opening it up to directors so that if anyone, who's very public facing or wants to know how to talk about ranked choice voting, they can come in. Then we'll be doing a candidate training. So 2 candidate trainings, and that's welcome to anyone in terms of who wants to be a candidate in the future, who wants to be a campaign manager, so that they know how to talk about that. And then we'll be going to senior centers and giving some training, because we've heard that that is an area that people would like to learn more about. Currently, there are 7 mayoral candidates and 8 city councilor candidates. With regard to communications and marketing, I'm just kind of jumping to each topic. So I think it's important to say our marketing team consists of strategy, planning, logos, campaigns, print and digital campaigns, press releases, imagery, language, and all the language for events. So we are very lucky to have professionals, graphic designer, videographer, photographer, basically a copy editor, a web developer, and they have been the lead on a lot of community engagement. So right now they're the lead in the UNESCO 20 years, the Guadalupe Information Campaign. They've taken on Quadstock, which will be happening in October. doing the logo and design for Midtown, Love Your Watershed, Rapid Hiring, Color Your World, Summer Reading, and every event that we host internally, they do from inception to end. And I think it's important that you know all the flyers and all the social media, everything that's on the website, and I have tons of them here that I'm pretty proud of our team doing because they're pretty unique, they're beautiful designs, and they extend from library, recreation centers, OED, so Office of Economic Development has been a high user, as well as arts and culture for our team. And so they've really been tackling a lot of things, including our challenge coin, which was designed by our team. If you do not have one, I have some in my office. I'm happy to give you some, but they are beautiful. So I am proud to say our team, one, saves the city a lot of money because they're very good at marketing and campaigning, and they're able to help us move forward events very quickly. The upcoming events that we have, so June 28th, which is Saturday, we have the Pride Parade and the city will be in it. Fire and police will be bringing in some of their vehicles, and we have people signed up. You do have some swag and some t-shirts to wear. We'll be handing out a number of things, including candy and glasses and different stuff. So we look forward to having a lot of city people join us with that. July 1st will be the Disability Pride flag raising here outside of City Hall, and then the community engagement event, which is the micro community and homelessness. July 11th will be the movies in the park. Wicked will be playing, and we're really happy to be having a partnership with both St. Christus and Coca-Cola has provided free waters for us. So we are excited for that new partnership because it's going to help make sure that the prices are cheaper for the food trucks. So if you know people who want to come out for it, I think right now we're estimating it'll be 50% off on everything that will be in a food truck or a vendor. So that is a cool thing. July 19th, we'll be having the summer spray downs. We had our first one last weekend and it was a great success. So we're excited to have that first one with basically a whole brand new team of constituent services. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for entertaining my long list of updates.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a very comprehensive list. Are you going to bring it to us on a regular basis?
Yes, I would like to do it quarterly so that you do know your numbers and understand kind of what we've been doing. Everyone has been very busy. So
thank you. Next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
Item 15, communications from the governing body.
Councilor Castro.
I just wanted to take a few moments to thank Rick Espinosa and Enrico Ruiz, who took me on a ride along for Parks this week, and it was very exciting. They do a ton of work, and in particular with the Western Governors Conference in town, they did a spectacular job. So thank you, Parks.
Thank you. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to shout out staff members. I had a constituent concern. Their home was off of Camino Carlos Rey, and there were two concerns. One was debris on the road, and they talked to multiple departments and could not find anyone willing to come pick up the debris off of Camino Carlos Rey. And they were also concerned about speed. And I contacted Chief Joy and Regina Wheeler, and I made the call late, like at 8 p.m. And they had Chief Joy had closed patrol ready to go the next day, and Regina Wheeler had someone there to clean up the streets before like 8 a.m. So they took care of it really quickly. I do want to say though, I don't know how we could be more organized or have clearer communication of, I know everything goes to constituent services, but I think that they can get very overwhelmed. And so, for example, and I think my constituent had a very good point, there's debris in the street. Who do I call to clean this up? They got bounced back and forth between departments and they were trying to do a good thing. in their 70s. The man was about to go get his truck and clean it himself. So I feel like we have to be clear on where they can go for certain situations like that. And it be very easily accessible on the website, because I think we do have constituents that really want to be proactive and they want to support us. They want to do the right thing, but then it turns into a very negative experience when they are trying really hard to do their part and we're not meeting them halfway in our process and how we are organized as a city. So I don't know if we could just look at that. But I do want to shout out again, Chief Joy and Director Wheeler. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Counselor Garcia.
I'll continue the theme of shouting out staff, and thank you, City Clerk Salazar and your comms team. There's soon going to be a video, an informational video on a new law that's going to take effect the beginning of July, called the Idaho Stop. And it's a new cycling law, and they've been able to turn this around very quickly. So thank you to the team. And I would encourage everybody to watch that video, because it's a new way for cyclists to essentially have kind of a California stop, as you would call it, in a vehicle, but on a bicycle. So thank you for that quick turnaround, and just hopefully everybody's having a great Pride Month, and look forward to a great celebration on the Plaza Saturday. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Lindell.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to everyone that participated in putting on, and I had such a nice time down on the Plaza Saturday night for the Juneteenth celebration. It was terrific, and I think everybody there enjoyed themselves and had a moment to think about the reason that we were there, the reason that we were gathered, and I think it was a very meaningful event. Pride is a meaningful event. The community could use everyone's support this year. We're target, and I don't think that that's going to go away soon or easily or without some people actually losing their lives over it. So I look forward to seeing everyone at Pride this year. We always have a nice time. Thank you, Clerk Salazar. The shirts this year, the design is terrific. Thank you very, very much. They look really, really nice, and we're going to have a wonderful time on Saturday. Thank you, everyone.
Counselor. Counselor Faulkner.
I just would like to show my support of Pride Parade. I think it's going to be super fun. I went last year for the first time. It was amazing. A lot of love and a lot of, I don't know, just support and community, which is pretty fun to see in our city. Councilors Chavez, Lee Garcia, Cassett, and I are hosting a Southside Back to School Bash, and I'm going to keep bringing it up every city council meeting. We are going to have putt-putt, basketball challenges, soccer challenges, firefighters, obstacle course, a tug of war with firefighters and kids. We're going to have art. We're going to have providers. We're going to have DJs. We're going to have dancers. It's like a free for all, but it's going to be awesome. And in the usual Southside fashion, it's just going to be a lot of everything. But I encourage everyone to come because it's going to be a fantastic event.
Thank you, Counselor.
At Swan Park.
Counselor Raworth.
Thank you, Mayor. I just I was also down on the plaza for Juneteenth and for the proclamation reading, and I just want to echo, how great it is that we live in a community that celebrates both Juneteenth and the upcoming Pride events on Saturday and the flag raising on Monday and all the other ways that we acknowledge the diversity in our community. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. Yep. I was not able to be at the Juneteenth celebration. I was out of town, and congratulations to all for all inclusivity of everyone. including Pride this weekend. I am looking forward to being there. I do want to thank the cleanup crew that did Airport Road on Saturday, and being that I was not here, I didn't attend, but I do want to shout out to New Mexico State Police, who did give some attention to the South Trail there. I think it's the Camino Real Extension Trail. And thank the city for I believe the city picked up all the trash that was picked up. I did go out there, and it was pretty neat because there was a lot of people just picking up bags, and it didn't seem like there was a lot. But once everybody turned in their bags, they were it's a big old pile. And so again, being visible in our community and going out there and helping, I think that's so important. I did want to give attention to an event that we had today, and as the chairman of the NCRTD Blue Buses, we did a ribbon cutting in Taos, which kind of ceremonially starts the operations of our Taos bus facility, maintenance and bus facility, which is beautiful. Thank you to all of the participants, whether it's the city, the county, the state, and even federal, for all the funding. One final note is that we are in the middle of that board in searching for a new executive director, as our executive director is leaving. Actually, I think June 30th is his final physical day. He is still on contract until we fill the spot. So we are in the process of through a search committee, bringing in candidates, and hopefully should have somebody in that spot by August, September. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I had one I actually forgot, and was, I guess, just to request an update regarding where we're at with the monument. So I think this would go to the city manager. There are kind of two different fronts. One, the analysis that should have been conducted in the report that should have been given to us, given the 90-day turnaround. And I have yet to see anything on that. And in addition to that, there was the judge's order that certain actions were to be taken by a 120-day period. Haven't received any update on that either. So I know we in the past had requested an update, and we still have, I've been given no formal update since we approved the contract with the entity that was doing the analysis on the monument. So if we can be provided an update, whether it's email, I would prefer a governing body setting like this. That way the public can get an update as well. That would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I have a bunch of bouquets to hand out, and one thing that I know I'm a broken record on, but I can't not bring it up yet again. So let's do bouquets first, flowers first. The great job by all concerned with the Western Governors meeting here. I know it took a lot of work from our department heads. I know city manager coordinated it and made sure that the requests that we were getting from the governor's team to take action around particular areas of interest and concern were really well cared for. I think it was well managed in terms of public safety, and people could demonstrate, but everybody went home safely at the end of the night, as far as I know, which is really an important part of a successful public rally. You get to speak your piece, but then we all want to go home and have a peaceful evening. And to host that here in our city was a job well done. The clerk has already done an outstanding job of mentioning all the important things going on. We were all gifted a mask tonight because of the senior prom that was held at the convention center. I confess, I think I may be the only member of the governing body who qualifies for the senior prom. And I did dance one dance, just for the record, very, very quietly off in the corner. But what a great event, and what a great job by and Councilor Garcia was there, but I didn't see him dance this time. He usually dances.
I danced my booty away.
All
as they
right.
speak. They almost had to call in the fire department.
Well, I missed it. I must have left early, but it was you and I both know it was a great event, and the senior team did a great job putting it on. The cooperation with the county as well as with our own senior operations was just great. The Pride celebration this weekend is going to be, as Councilor Lindell aptly mentioned, more significant than perhaps ever, because of the duress that people are under, and we should all take care to be there and give everybody support, give everybody respect, and everybody recognition and welcome to a city that prides itself on being an open and welcoming city for everyone. The opera is about to kick off. For those of you who are, whether you're an opera lover or not, you have to say that big kudos to the city of Santa Fe's opera team. It is world class. It is spectacular. The productions, the entire setting is just something to be proud of. And every year when the opera begins, I think we see the city fill up, and we see just what a great variety of cultural activities are here. The 4th of July is going to be also, if it holds true to form, the lines will wrap around the plaza for a long distance as people contribute and then participate in the celebration. All of those are just some of the many different bouquets that our community deserves. There's one issue that I've brought up repeatedly. And in fact, some time ago, we had a presentation from both Julie Sanchez and from the leadership from Voices for Children about how New Mexico is doing with what I think is the transcendent issue in our state, and that is the overall well-being of children in our state of New Mexico. June is the month where the Annie E. Casey report is usually issued. No different this year. There was an op-ed in the New Mexican by the executive director from Voices for Children who spoke here in front of us, Gabriela Ubaea, and she noted that the numbers continue to be discouraging. We're 49th in economic well-being. We're 50th in education performance. We're 46th in health and 50th in family and community as a state when it comes to the overall well-being of the children of New Mexico. Overall, we finished 50th again. For me, this is a huge transcendent issue for New Mexico. Until we are able to move out of the 50th position, or when we swap places with Mississippi and we're 49, until we move up the ladder of achievement for our children, we are going to continue to see the same cycle of intergenerational poverty that mires so many of our community members in all parts of New Mexico in lives that they cannot find a way to improve. And we've done a lot in the city. Mayors for Guaranteed Income makes a big difference. The money that we were able to provide during COVID for direct cash payments, the efforts for affordable housing, the list is very substantial. And yet we look at the numbers and we are still ranking number 50th as a state when it comes to the overall well-being of our children. And I don't think it's discouraging. I think it is absolutely a call for action, that whatever we are not yet doing to move the needle is what has to be done, whether it's at the level of a city, the level of a county, a region, the level of the state, the legislature, whatever else it takes. We know it's not going to come from the federal government. It's going to come from us. And so my hope is that in the year ahead, we will see substantial improvement on the overall well-being of the health, the educational achievement, family and community capabilities for New Mexico's children. It has got to be on the top of everybody's list. So continues to be a challenge that we shouldn't take our eyes off. Madam Clerk, what's the next item on the agenda?
16, introduction of legislation. 16A, consideration of resolution number 2025-TBD, sponsored by Councilor Alma Castro, a resolution adopting the City of Santa Fe's Regional Annual Transit Service Plan for fiscal year 2026, accepting the North Central Regional Transit District's NCRTD fiscal year 2026 proposed funding of regional services provided by the City of Santa Fe City of $1,421,890 and approving submitting the city's regional annual transit service plan for fiscal year 2026 to the NCRTD's Board of Directors for approval.
Councilor Castro.
Indeed. I just want to have a small celebration for the work that Ms. Gabrielle Chavez did. We had fallen behind on collecting some of these, and she has done an amazing job in getting us on track. So thank you.
Thank you for introducing this. The next item for introduction.
16B, consideration of resolution number 2025-TBD, sponsored by Councilor Pilar Faulkner and Councilor Lee Garcia. A resolution proposing a ballot question to be submitted to the City of Santa Fe voters during the November 4th, 2025 regular local election regarding amending the city's charter to require governing body consent before a mayor can remove a city manager, city attorney, or city clerk.
You are the sponsors. You want to say a word about it, councilors?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Faulkner, for the opportunity. Just basically what it states, I think the track that we're on is that we are required to consent when each of these positions are appointed. And so I think our reasoning or our thought process is that in order to be removed, we should also consent, and that's where we're going with this. Thank you.
And I need to note Councilor Chavez is also a sponsor of this legislation. Where the way I'm looking at this is these positions are not cabinet positions for a mayor. Those three positions work for the city in totality, which includes the city council. And so some of the things you're going to see coming forward from, I think, Councilor Lee Garcia and Amanda Chavez and I are in an effort to put some checks and balances in place between the council and the mayor. We have a very strong mayor position, and we did not contemplate when we were doing that what the council powers should be to be in balance with a strong mayor. And so I think what we're trying to do with this effort is just strike a balance between the council and the administration.
Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 16C, consideration of bill number 2025-15, adoption of ordinance number 2025-TBD, sponsored by Councilor Amanda Chavez and Councilor Carol Romero Worth, a bill authorizing the execution and delivery of a water project fund loan grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority and the City of Santa Fe, New Mexico, the borrower guarantee, TE, in the total amount of $2 million, including a loan in the amount of $800,000, evidencing an obligation of the borrower guarantee to utilize the loan grant amount solely for the purpose of financing the costs of designing a new pipeline and pump to return San Juan Chama Project source effluent water for reuse via return flows credits and increased diversions, including related work and revisions, and solely in the manner described in the loan grant agreement, providing the pledge and payment of the loan amount and an administrative fee solely from the net revenues of the water utility system from the borrower guarantee, certifying that the loan grant amount, together with the other funds available to the borrower guarantee, is sufficient to complete the project, approving the form of and other details concerning the loan grant agreement, ratifying actions heretofore taken, repealing all action inconsistent with this ordinance, and authorizing the taking of other actions in connection with the execution and delivery of the loan grant agreement.
The sponsors.
That was a lot of information.
wanna say a word or
But
two?
the funding's necessary for the San Juan Chama project, which just really is key for, I think, Santa Fe's water or Santa Fe's future water supply. So I think it's very exciting when you're thinking water in Santa Fe.
Counselor Mayorworth? She's good. Thank you. Next item.
Next item, 19, final action on legislation, public hearing. 19A, consideration of resolution number 2025-TBD, sponsored by Mayor Ellen Weber, Counselor Jamie Cassett, and Counselor Amanda Chavez. A resolution making a finding of necessity and designating an area comprised of a majority of the Midtown Local Innovative Corridor Overlay District and the General Franklin E. Miles Park as a metropolitan redevelopment area.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Are you going to, I don't know if the screens are even working. Did you have did you want to give us a presentation on this before we go to a public?
Good afternoon. Good evening, Mayor Weber. I have a presentation, but I do not think it's necessary. We've gone through all the committees and we've given it many times, unless a counselor would like me to proceed with the presentation.
Let me offer an alternative, which is because not everybody who would be listening or watching or paying attention would have been to any of those committee meetings. Maybe you could, without going through a whole slide deck, you could give us the overview, and then we'll go to public hearing and have a motion and then discussion among the governing body.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Mayor Weber. And I want to point out that I do have Director of the MRA, Daniel Hernandez, on the phone with me due to our technical difficulties tonight. So he will be on standby. We're here this evening for the vote on the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area designation. This is the third step in a four-step process pursuant to the NM State Metropolitan Redevelopment Act. The first two steps being establish the agency and commission. This is the third here this evening with the area designation. This area includes the Midtown site, the Midtown Local Innovation Corridor, also known as the Midtown Link, excluding the Tres Santos apartments. So that area, the Midtown Link, represents solely commercial interests, as well as the amended inclusion of Governor Franklin Miles Park. Next step in this process, as I said, we're on the third step, the fourth being the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Plan. That plan focuses primarily on the financing tools and prioritization of projects within the redevelopment area, that being the Midtown site and the commercial corridor mentioned. The redevelopment plan will also provide examples of MRA best practices in other New Mexican cities and the roles and responsibilities of the MRA Commission to effectively fulfill and steward the MRA. Those are the highlights.
I'm going to break my own protocol. Just if you could embellish just a little bit, rather than having me ask this question later, on the benefits and the significance of this step. What does it enable that is important for the moving forward of other parts of the Midtown redevelopment opportunity?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So since this part, step 3, as I said, is the designation, the benefits truly come during the planning process, and those come in the form of public-private partnerships, potential economic levers, including tax increment financing, bids, which is business improvement development districts, and other things of the same vein.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak to this item? It is a public hearing.
We do have one person, Stephanie Beninato. I am going to unmute you. I'm also going to set the timer, so just give me 1 minute.
Okay, this is Stephanie Beninato. Do I have to be sworn? Do I have to be sworn? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Okay. Now we can hear.
Okay, so do I have to be sworn is my question first?
No.
Okay, so I hope you start my timer now. I am opposed to this designation in part and because that it is based on having to declare it a blighted area, is my understanding, and that the blight is actually on what was the former College of Santa Fe campus, which is owned by the city, and it has to do with the conditions of the buildings there. My concern is that it lowers the values of the residential area surrounding the campus, which the city has been very adamant that, you know, they're going to protect that area and the residents in that area, but this seems to run counter to that. And I understand that it's a funding, that the designation gives you certain funding. I also am really concerned about the street corridor plan. It looks like there's only going to be one lane of traffic coming down each side of St. Michael's. And that I don't, excuse me, I don't believe that people are going to be walking from St. Vincent's down into this area to have lunch. It's too far away. The changes that were made to Siler Road have been really, in my opinion, not at all good. It takes 2 or 3 lights to get through to Cerrillos Road or to Agua Fria because of the changes there. And the idea that businesses are not close up to the sidewalk, if you start looking, actually, they are. And there are certain parking lots, such as the one at Smith's, which is actually set back and has landscaping, that are full most of the time. So they are very well-used lots, not just empty without anybody there. I believe that's true near what was Kmart, but that's only because I believe it's a federal government installation having to do with the fires, and it's an administrative building, and people are not coming and going from there. So those are my concerns about this designation. Thank you. Oh, and I guess I'm concerned about height increase, especially I want to make sure that any increased height as stated prior would be toward the middle of the campus and not towards the edges, which
Thank
would have a visual impact, a negative visual impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the Zoom room who would like to speak?
There are no other attendees in the Zoom room.
Is there anyone in the chambers here tonight who wants to speak on this issue? It's a public hearing. That would be a no. Okay. Let me first entertain a motion and then we can have discussion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion to approve this item and there is a second. I'm happy to go around and give everybody 10 minutes or you can pass. Councilor Castro?
I just wanted to actually address a question because I had the similar one. Is there anything in this overlay that affects height or changes in the buildings?
Mayor Weber, Councilor Castro, this designation area nor the plan in the future impacts the height.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Councilor Chavez? Councilor Garcia?
Just maybe a quick comment. This designation will actually, my hope, and I think it's everybody's hope, will begin to bring in the much needed revenue that will begin the process of what was envisioned over a decade ago with the remike process and begin to develop direly needed homes for individuals in our community on the campus. So many thanks to you, Carly and Daniel. I think Daniel's with us virtually for bringing this forward. Just one quick clarification. I don't know, Carly or Daniel, just because you all have had a lot more experience on this. Does an MRA actually lower property values?
And I want to defer to Daniel Hernandez on this. This is a speaking point, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, that he has spoken about quite a bit. Daniel Hernandez, right here on the phone with me. Counselor Garcia asked if an MRA actually lowers any property values.
Carly, you might, if they don't hear me, you might reiterate my answer, but there hasn't been an example of where an MRA development area designation has reduced property values. In fact, it's either stabilized them or increased in property values. And in the case where it would increase, that's why we're so committed to creating a neighborhood stabilization plan for surrounding neighborhoods. So we can address any potential that land in value increases would create.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Hernandez. You actually answered my follow-up question. Isn't that the reason why we're developing the neighborhood stabilization plan, especially for Hopewell Man, given the impact?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So with that, again, I'll reiterate Councilor Castro's question. This does not affect height. Actually, height was approved with the overlay link over 10 years ago. So anybody that has any questions, concerns, we can refer back to the overlay ordinance that was approved by the council. I think it was 2015, 2016. And that all the answers are in there, and happy to take a deeper dive with folks if necessary. But with that, thank you to the team for the work on this. No other questions or comments?
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Lindell. Counselor Faulkner.
I just think this is a great project and I support it.
Counselor Mayor Worth.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you just speak, one of you, to the designation of blight? I don't think anybody should take that as an insult or as meaning literally. It's a term in the statute. Maybe you could just speak to that, because I think we've had many presentations about this and what the nature of that word, how it's used. Right. Mr. Mayor, Councilor Maraworth, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about that. The statute is from 1978, and that word is included along with other criteria. The finding of necessity that is required to designate the area actually lays out quite a few criteria that then make up the conditions of blight. In this case, we found criteria including deteriorated or deteriorating structures on the site, as well as across the commercial corridor, defective or inadequate street layout throughout the corridor, out of date or impractical planning and platting, also known as clouding of title, and defective or unusual conditions of title. So really, marking this area is going to help us make it significant improvements around this. This is a tool that's used a lot in Albuquerque. There are really good examples there of how these designations have improved areas, and I think you'll have examples of that, I'm sure, if there are people who are interested. But I think we're on the verge of doing something really important for the city and making improvements to this area. So thank you.
Counselor Lee Garcia. Good. I don't have any questions. I do think we're making significant progress, and I really appreciate the hard work you all have done. A project of this scale and of this significance is a once in a lifetime opportunity for the city. It really makes a huge amount of difference how you move forward, whether it's well thought through, whether there is community engagement, whether there is the ability for people to have input, as we've seen has been the model for this whole project. And now I think we are seeing the fruits of that labor with this kind of a designation. And as Councilor Maraworth points out, this is how you, in any city, and Albuquerque's got quite a few of these designated areas historically, how you channel dollars and attention and improvements into an area so that you can actually make it a priority for city investment and for community opportunities to not just live there, but also to have a job, to open a store, to have your own small business, to be a student at the film program. The opportunities are huge, and as the city manager pointed out, with the advent of a flight to LA and the moving forward of the studio at Midtown, I think the pieces are there to be seen and coming together. So to everybody who's working on this, great deal of gratitude for all your hard work, and keep moving forward. This is, I think, picking up momentum and growing support as you move. So thank you for all your hard work. Any other questions at this time? Councilor Garcia.
No questions, just quick comment, because we did focus a lot on the link overlay, and I don't want us to be lost in the fact that we're also including the park.
Yep.
Which is definitely seen better days, and I'm happy that we're able to support this park in a means where we'll be able to work with residents to help to build a park that meets 21st century needs. I mean, when I grew up using Franklin Miles Park as a baseball player, little leaguer, and all of our little leaguers have migrated over to Regal Park now, and thus leaving that park unused. And when something gets unused, things like rodents, gophers, prairie dogs begin to take it over and use it as their own. And we need to begin to refocus and have the primary use being the residents, and maybe build an awesome park that residents from throughout the city will want to utilize. So I'm thankful that we're able to present an opportunity for the public to use that space again, as it has been in the past.
Yep. Any other comments? We have a motion on the floor. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Could you read the next item on the agenda, please?
19B, consideration of bill number 2025-12, adoption of ordinance number 2025-TBD, sponsored by Mayor Alan Weber. Be it ordained by the governing body of the city of Santa Fe, authorizing the execution and delivery of a water project fund loan grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority, NMFA, and the city of Santa Fe, New Mexico, the borrower guarantee, in the total amount of $5,500,000, including a loan in the amount of $2,200,000, evidencing an obligation of the borrower guarantee to utilize the loan grant amount solely for the purpose of financing the costs of repairs to the Nichols Dam outlet conduit, including sealing of conduit joints, conduit lining, installation of filter diaphragm around outlet conduit, including related work and revisions, and solely in the manner described in the loan grant agreement, providing for the pledge and payment of the loan amount and an administrative fee solely from the net revenues of the water utility system of the borrower guarantee, certifying that the loan grant amount, together with other funds available to the borrower guarantee, is sufficient to complete the project, approving the form of and other details concerning the loan grant agreement, ratifying actions heretofore taken, repealing all action inconsistent with this ordinance, and authorizing the taking of other action in connection with the execution and delivery of the loan grant agreement.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Let me first, Mr. Hook, ask you if you would say a few words about this for the uninitiated who may be listening. That's a lot of language, and some of it sounds kind of legalistic. Maybe you could break it down for us into what we're actually going to be asked to vote on.
There we go. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Councilors. So this is the final hearing on the approval of the acceptance of a loan grant from the Mexico Finance Authority via the Water Project Fund of the state to City of Santa Fe. It's $5.5 million. It's a loan grant. The purpose of this loan grant is going towards the Nichols Dam repair project. It's approximately a $20 million project ongoing actually right now, and will be continuing into this calendar year. So this is good news. We will be receiving $5.5 million. Part of this is a loan. It's a 20-year loan at 0.025%. So a quarter of 1%. With that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you. That's very clear and straightforward. This is a public hearing, Madam Clerk. I don't see anybody in the chambers who is lining up to testify. Is there someone on Zoom we can turn to for a comment on this matter?
Is there anyone in the Zoom room who would like to raise their hand and speak? I am seeing nobody.
I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
There's a motion and there is a second. I'll just ask for a show of hands if anyone has a question or a comment at this time. See no hands, Madam Clerk. With that, could you please call the roll on the motion?
Counselor Lindell. Counselor Romero Worth.
Yes.
Counselor Castro. Counselor Chavez.
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner.
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Thank you for staying.
Thank you and have a good night.
Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
19C, consideration of bill number 2025-16, ordinance number 2025-TBD, sponsored by Mayor Alan Weber. A bill amending section 2-4.6 to remove the 60-day timeline for the city manager to hire a deputy city manager and update the section consistent with the charter.
This is also a public hearing. I don't know whether there's anything to be said at this point. I know it's gone through committee processes, and people have heard it. Is there, Mr. City Manager, is there anything you would want to say to set the table, or should we just go to public comment and the governing body?
No, I'll just say I'm sorry.
Thank you for.
I wish I'd done it right. I appreciate city attorney and counselors for setting the code, what I hope you will feel is right.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that.
Is there anyone on Zoom with a hand up to testify on this?
Yes, there is one hand raised in the Zoom room. Stephanie Benenato. I'm going to first turn on my timer before I unmute. Okay.
Stephanie Benenato, thank you for allowing me to speak. I do hope that the city council has some discussion on this item, even though it has gone through committees. Many residents cannot get to committee meetings to hear discussion on the item. I am one of the many who believe that the city is top-heavy in upper management, and that the process that was used to hire the person who seemingly will become the assistant city manager just raises a lot of questions about a done deal, and why this person was given a job that maybe they're not even qualified for right now, whether the salary has increased since the other assistant city manager had it, which seems to be the trend always, no matter what. And I hope that I thought I read in the paper there was some clear definition of what this person's responsibilities would be, and I hope there's some discussion around that as well. I think that 60 days, the 60-day limit, is too short for somebody just coming in who is a newcomer, who doesn't know the city government and doesn't see the need or can't articulate that need and get somebody hired. I think if you can't even hire lifeguards within 3 or 4 weeks, hiring an assistant city manager in 60 days is probably totally unrealistic. Thank you.
There are no other
Nobody else.
attendees in the
Take-
Zoom room.
And no one here in the chambers. So let me entertain a motion and then we'll discuss.
Move to approve.
Second.
Whoop, there's a motion to approve and there is a second. Why don't we just, if anyone wants to speak to this matter, we can go around and try to keep it as within the 10-minute boundaries, but I have a feeling that this has been discussed pretty thoroughly. Counselor Lee Garcia, sir, why don't you start us off?
Thank you, Mayor. I won't labor this issue much, but I did make my comments in committee. I'm not supporting it because of the, we talk a lot about procedural rules. And I do understand, I actually agree with the realization that it's not sensical, as the city manager states, but we're doing it backwards, so I'm not supporting it tonight, but I do appreciate the process and the explanation by the city manager, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. We did have a good conversation about this at Finance. Really appreciate the folks who participated in that. I did at Finance, and I will here again, just say that I think it's really important that we focus on what we're here considering right now, which is whether this rule makes sense and serves the city. Does it make sense to require a brand new city manager to hire within 60 days of taking their job a deputy city manager? I think in Finance, we were able to see that, one, just understanding whether you need one takes a little bit of time. And then with what the process has been in trying to find an eligible candidate who's qualified to actually even locate that person required a search firm. We had to go out to get 3 bids before we could hire the search firm. Then you have to have the search firm go out and find the candidate. Then you have to vet the candidates you get. Then you have to bring them in for interviews. By the time you do all of that, you're really past your 60 days. So it doesn't seem to be a rule that's serving the city. And as we talked about at Finance, I think it's one of these situations too, where the way the law is currently written, if you don't do that in 60 days, you don't, as the city manager, have the ability to hire anybody. So you could, maybe get lucky and find somebody in that 60-day window. But what happens if something happened to that candidate where they took the job and then, I don't know, a week before said, nope, actually circumstances have changed and I'm not going to take the job? Then what do you do? You're up against the clock that seems very arbitrary at that time. And so I don't think this rule serves the city's interests. And I think we need to focus on what we're being asked to do, which is, does this rule make sense for our governance? Is it the best we can do? Let's forget the personalities around this, which is what I think we need to do when we're looking at governance, is not think about the current players, but think about whether the process makes sense for us and whether it serves the best interest of the city. And I think this rule, as we have discussed in Finance, does not serve us well. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Counselor Faulkner.
I would just concur with Counselor Worth. There are some things we put into policy that make sense and others that I think are reactionary, sometimes more politically driven than makes sense for policy. And so I feel like I will support this because this does make sense. And the way it's written now is nonsensical.
Thank you. Counselor Lindell.
Well, why not 10 days? Putting days on this doesn't help us. I think that Counselor Romero Worth made an exceptionally good point about this. No, this just doesn't serve us well. It's not particularly good governance, and it's so arbitrary. I mean, 10 days, 20 days, 60 days. However many days it takes to decide what you need and who the right person is. That's what works for me. So yeah, of course I'm going to support this. Thank you, Mayor.
Counselor Michael Garcia, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did some research into this, and it seems as if allowing for the city manager to hire a deputy city manager came about in around 2007. And, this is where I appreciate you, Ms. Martin, because the minutes that are part of the record of 2007 I can't decipher anything in that. There was minimal documentation around the conversation, nothing even regarding the 60-day requirement. But to me, that shows that there wasn't concern from the body then that it was a justifiable time frame. And it was justifiable enough for them to actually include it in the first draft of the ordinance, and there was no concerns, no proposed amendments, no proposed changes, etc. So that then leads me to kind of think of how this process has worked throughout the years. And, historically, prior to the city moving to a full-time mayor and a full-time city manager position, there was a deputy city manager, and there was their hiring process went through flawlessly, to the sense where they didn't have to propose a law change to hire somebody. Now, we fast forward to the two most recent hirings where there has been challenges. I can't ask former city manager Blair what happened with his process, because from what I understand, that didn't meet the 60-day mark. And this current proposal to hire somebody didn't meet the 60-day mark. And so I'm trying to look at it from the administrator perspective, because I don't think that there's anything that really causes the 60-day to be problematic, in the sense you begin the hiring process immediately when somebody comes on board. It's pretty uncommon that we actually have to hire a headhunter to bring on somebody, which, comes at an additional cost. And in this example, it was $20,000 to hire somebody to find a person. And so I think those are challenges that are not typically encountered. Now, I, again, have to look at historically. Why did we have this role? And historically, that role was there was because we had a full-time city manager that was essentially running the government. And we switched to the full-time mayor, which should have shifted some of the duties. And then if we fast forward a couple of years, we actually reorganized the government. That way less people would report to the city manager to, quote unquote, make it more efficient. And in my opinion, that would have meant we don't need that second in command on the city manager side anymore, because there's less people reporting. But that is actually opposite of the justification being provided tonight, is that there's a lot of people that I have to report to me. So it kind of counters the major reorganization that happened in 2020. So I'm kind of thinking, what major changes are being proposed and made, and especially when we're not even getting the outcomes that we were told we were going to get when these proposals were ultimately proposed and approved. And so with that being said, I do not favor getting rid of this rule because I believe it was there in a place, you know, and similar to the way rules before us were made by individuals, and you think back to even the great founders of this country when they wrote documents such as the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, we can't directly go and ask them why they made such rules. We just have to have trust and confidence that there was a reason why they did it. And because there's lack of a documentation, even in the minutes back in 2007, I believe that that justification was there for a reason. And there's nothing that prohibits somebody from bringing somebody on in that time frame. Because let me ask you this question, Mr. Scott. If you wanted to hire a deputy city manager on day one, was there anything that would have prohibited you from beginning that process? I understand that there's formal processes such as getting a job description approved, but if I'm reading it correctly, the process is you just have to propose the job description in front of us and get that proposed. Nothing that's saying that you couldn't begin the exploration process. So is there anything that would have prohibited you from exploring the hiring a deputy city manager on day one?
Mr. Mayor, Counselor, many things. I mean, it certainly was not what I was thinking about doing on day one.
Okay. And so with that being said, again, I'm looking at history because with your predecessor, he came to us 2 weeks after we hired him, requesting for this position, requesting for the job description. So there was nothing that prohibited him from getting that done. And I think it comes down to really understanding what the job is in front of the individual. And by no means do I not think that you didn't fully grasp that, but I know for a fact that the time frame was brought to your attention when you were brought on board. Was it not, Mr. Scott?
I won't say that it wasn't, but I certainly don't remember it.
Okay.
But I will also say, before the 60 days was up, I was aware that there was a provision in the code that said 60 days. I didn't think it was real and didn't think it was relevant. That's why I said, I'm sorry if I didn't do this right. But I certainly didn't do it knowingly I was doing something wrong. I would like to think the real issue here is whether or not the rule is in the best interest of the city. And I think you and I apparently have different understandings of whether the city manager needs a deputy city manager position. From my perspective, it's critically important to have the staff that I need to have to get your job done. And I'm here to do the job for you. I don't need to be here. It's my choice to be here, and I'm not here for the job other than to serve the community. That's what I'm all about. And I'd like to think you've learned that now. And I'm telling you, from my perspective, this is an important position for this city to get the things done that you all asked me to get done, including things like obelisk reports. There are a lot of things that need to get done in this city. And I'm telling you, from my perspective, it's an important thing to do. But I don't think that's the issue that's in front of you. I think the issue in front of you is whether or not it makes sense to have a provision in the code that does this. I mean, perhaps I could have appointed somebody, the interim deputy city manager, in the first month. And then would that have given me more time to keep looking? And then maybe in a couple months later, I could have appointed another interim deputy city manager while I continued to look for the right deputy city manager. none of that makes any sense in my perspective, and I realize it's my perspective. But I'm just, I will take whatever action that you all want me to take. For me, this is the most humiliating thing I've been through in my entire career. I think we've belabored this issue enough. I hope the city council will take a position and vote on it. And whatever your judgment is, I accept it.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, and I appreciate the response and I appreciate your commitment to the city of Santa Fe. And you know, you had said whether it makes sense, and you know, I'll be frank in my response, and my answer is no, in the sense that this process worked for nearly 2 decades, and we're now running into challenges with it. And I think that's my concern, is there was never any concern whether when this proposal came forward back in 2007, nor was it ever considered for any amendments in the past by any council governing body in the past. And I think the reason why we got in this predicament is why the proposal's in front of us, and they're two, got to separate the two, but you've got to really understand the cause and effect here. And I think that's my concern here, is that the cause does not warrant the effect, so to speak. And that is why I'm having such a struggle for this, because trust me, I wish I can go on YouTube and watch a meeting like we can now and go back and see the full deliberations and debate around the process, but all I have is to rely on is the minutes, and there's nothing documented that has ever brought any concerns about this until today. And so that is why I want you to have the support, but I can't go about changing laws because process was not followed, so to speak. So wish you all the best, Mr. Scott. And with that, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Chung.
Thank you, Mayor. I too echo Councilor Romero Worth and Faulkner. However, I just want to say, like, there's some facts that make things pretty apparent. Like, we haven't had deputy city managers. And we, you know, have also had city managers that, or deputy city managers that I don't know how many of us would be confident could step into the city manager role if need be for whatever reason. And I think when we rush a process, especially with a new leader, that's why we have that issue. When we get a new leader, especially one that runs an organization of this size, I don't want them to start trying to hire someone as their deputy. I want them to form relationships with staff. I want them to assess the need of our city, because only then would they be able to even interview someone properly to pick someone qualified to serve our city. It is a process, and it's a process that could not take place in 60 days, in my opinion. And I think that's why historically we have seen that position look the way that it has. So we can't go back and watch discussions, but I think we have historical data in front of us that tells us why this is a good thing. We want quality. I very much think that the city has needed that deputy city manager that could easily become interim city manager, so that we're not left in a place where we don't have someone making these key decisions and moving our organization forward as it needs to be moved. And so I very much support this. I think this is an example of good leadership and how we hire quality candidates to serve our community. It's not saying we're just going to put someone in position to help us do our job, but it's saying, like, we're going to assess the need of the city and pick someone that can meet that need, and not the need of the city manager, but the need of the city. 60 days is great. If a city manager is hiring someone based on what they need and the support that they need, 60 days is not adequate if we're hiring someone that is here to serve the city and what the city needs. So I very much support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Castro.
Quickly, just echoing the sentiment of my colleagues, I think that it's interesting to hear that we want a process to begin very quickly when, if my recollection is correct, we were a little judgmental of how quickly it was brought by other city managers. I want to echo the sentiment that we should have a deputy city manager that is able to execute effectively all of the duties that the city manager can when they are not available. I mean, we understand that city managers sometimes need to take some time off and have emergencies, and we need to have somebody in that position that can fill the role adequately. We've had other conversations tonight about what kinds of roles people should fill and what is the adequate position for those folks. And I think it is a consensus that we understand what a important role it is for a city manager to be running all of these departments, in particular, some of our highly skilled departments that right now are vacant. We have high vacancy in the city, and so we are putting a lot of pressure on some of these high-level officials. And for that reason, I really think that we need to double down and invest in the leadership in this city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Counselor. I share the idea that we shouldn't belabor it, but I do want to say a few words about how we got where we are. The city manager is unfairly and very typically blaming himself, and that's not correct. We all have known for years that this was a very arbitrary provision. And rather than in a timely way amending it, we waited for a crisis to brew and then moved to amend it now. There are many things, and Councilor Faulkner just stepped out the room. She and I had a very thorough conversation this afternoon about many different things in the city code, city charter that don't match with what current reality is or best practice is. We haven't done a deep cleanse of some of the language and some of the provisions. And as a consequence, this circumstance has arisen, and it is unfortunate, but I don't think it's determinative of the skill or the commitment or the managerial competence of our city manager, who I think is demonstrating every single day what a great asset he is to our city and to our community. The fact that there is a fuzzy record doesn't surprise me at all. That the fact there is no clear-cut explanation for why 60 days was chosen, or why, as Councilor Lindell said, it couldn't have been 90 days or whatever. I think, or 10 fewer, make it fewer, not more. I don't think there is a clear record. And so the question isn't what's the historical record, it's what do we want for the city of Santa Fe? And I think we are all in agreement whether we believe there ought to be a deputy city manager or not, which is not the issue in front of us tonight. Let's not confuse it. The question is whether this provision makes sense. Does it serve the city's interests? At the end of the day, the important question is, what is in the best interests of the city and the people we serve? It's in the best interests of the city and the people we serve to have the best people possible that we can hire for these jobs, period. End of story. If a time limit prevents us from getting the quality candidates we know are out there that could be brought into our employment, then we have missed the point. We may hire somebody within 60 days, but not have hired the best possible candidate. So if you define success as the professionalization, the managerial competence of the city, the capacity of people to do a great job, an excellent job, then an arbitrary timeline really doesn't contribute to the definition of success that I think we've set out for ourselves. I think we are very, very fortunate to have this city manager, and I believe the city manager is very committed to excellence in the work that he does and with the people he works with. And in that spirit, a modification to a timeline that seems arbitrary and capricious seems to me to be in the best interests of the city. It's an improvement on how the city can be run. And I'm sorry I didn't bring it forward sooner. I think there are other things like this that ought to be looked at and ask the question, why is it the way it is? And if we don't know then look at, is it helping us run the city in a more effective and efficient, professional way? If it's not helping us, then we should change it. And that's the extent of this bill tonight, is to remove an impediment to doing a better job of running the city of Santa Fe, which is what we all care about. So with that, I really believe this should have been done sooner, but it's timely to do it now.
Call the question.
Second.
You call the roll on calling the question?
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner.
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
No.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion is approved to call the question.
Very well, then you should call the roll on the main motion.
Counselor Romero Worth.
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner.
Yep.
Counselor Lee Garcia.
No.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
My vote.
Counselor Lindell, Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion is approved.
thank you. Counselor Michael Garcia, you get to explain your vote, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think it's in the practice of good governance to change laws when processes and procedures were not followed. I understand the dilemma that the city manager was in, but I am one that, again, it's not in the best interest of the city to change laws when processes and procedures were not followed initially.
Like to.
Oh, you're a little late, party. I believe that's the last item on the agenda, Madam Clerk. Am I correct?
Yes, Mayor, that was the last item.
Very good. In that case, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.